Buying a used car is something that almost all of us are going to do at some point. And it can be scary, it's a big purchase. So you've got to kind of take the emotion out of the buying process and look at the information that's available to you. There's loads of information available from all sorts of places, especially online, and you should look at that. But for what it's worth, here's what I look for when I'm buying a used car. There are all sorts of things you can check without even getting inside and starting the engine. Does the mileage ring true with the exterior condition of the car? Now, if this car had been flogged up and down the motorway for tens of thousands of miles, there'd be telltale signs, not least scratches and nicks in the paintwork, especially here on the leading edge of the bonnet. Also, check the windscreen for little cracks and scratches. Now, the conditions of the wheels and the tyres is usually a dead giveaway. This one has got a bit of a curbing mark on it there, but that's not too serious. Don't kick tyres. Kicking tyres tells you nothing. Modern tyres, the construction's incredibly rigid, but when you do go to buy a used car, you will have to take with you a 20p piece, because if you put it in the tread, then it'll give you some indication of whether the tyres are legal. 3 mil is the legal requirement. There should be a bit more on a car of this age with the kind of mileage that this one is supposed to have. When I say supposed to have, there is a startling statistic. 1 in 3 used cars has been clocked. The mileage has been wound back to increase its resale value, so you need to be careful. Look at the wing mirrors. They are a dead giveaway. What kind of condition are they in? Do they look like they've spent many thousands of miles on a motorway? Are they covered in scratches? Are they faded? Have they been clattered? Is the glass cracked? Mirrors are always a good indication. Here's another tip for you. Most cars are central locking these days, so you can tell that if there are a lot of scratches around where the keyhole is, then there's a car that's got problems perhaps with its electrics, or it's done many more miles than it's supposed to have had, and that's why there's been a key put into that lock so many times. Check the fuel filler cap as well. Has it been forced? Has it been replaced? Have the keys been lost at some point? Do the keys all tally together? These are all the sorts of things that you can ask. Ask questions. Ask the previous keeper why the mileage is so low or why the mileage is so high. And these are all things that you can do before you even get into that car or think about starting the engine. Right, we've got the keys. Let's have a look in the boot. First thing, parcel shelf. These things are very easily detachable. We all do it. You put it aside, you drive off. Expensive to replace. Check the carpet. Is it dry? If it's not, the boot seal might have failed. That could be an expensive job. Right, let's check the spare tyre. There isn't one. Instead, we've got one of those emergency get you home kits. Check the jack, make sure it works. Make sure the wheel brace is actually the right wheel brace. The number of cars I've got in where somebody's just stuck our wheel brace in the back of the car. So make sure it fits. If you're lucky enough to have alloy wheels like this car does, check that the lock, the key for the lock on the alloy wheels is there. If it isn't with the car, that can be hundreds of pounds to replace. Right, let's see what's going on under the bonnet. For goodness sake, when you put the bonnet up like this, don't start randomly taking the tops off to check levels. If this car had just been run and you undid this one, you get a scalded hand. There's a warning helpfully on here, but do dip the oil though, because it tells you so many things about the car. Let's try this one. There we are. So let's stick it in there and see what it tells me. Yeah, all's good. If it's below the minimum mark, then walk away from the car. The car's been run with the oil level below the minimum. That's low oil pressure. The moving parts of the engine aren't getting the lubrication that they need. Walk away from it. However, if when you dip it and you look at the indicator, it's over the maximum mark, that is a classic sign of a car that's using oil and has been rapidly topped up when they know that you're coming round to see it. So if it's under the minimum, walk away. If it's over the maximum, ask why. Right, what can we tell from sitting here about this car without starting the engine? Well, we want to know, don't we, if the mileage that's showing is the actual mileage this car has done. There are some telltale giveaways about how much use the car has. For instance, when you get into the car, you inevitably rub against the door seal and the bolster of the seat. That's this bit. So check, compare the two. Look at the bolster on this side and look at the bolster on the other side. If there's no dirt or wear, or if the stitching's coming undone, the car's probably had a lot of use. Likewise, a leather covered steering wheel is a giveaway as well. Wear on the wheel, if the colour's a little bit reduced where you'd put your hands at the 10 to 2 position. Likewise, the gear stick, this one's leather covered again. If there's signs of wear or the stitching's come undone, it's probably a high mileage car. I would have given you a tip about whether the previous owner was a smoker by looking at the ashtray and the lighter, but like a lot of modern cars, this one doesn't come with an ashtray. What it does come with though is all of the documentation that you need, the warranty, the maintenance schedule, the service record of the car, so you can check when and where this car has been serviced. It doesn't matter too much these days if the handbook isn't there, because you can download them from the internet. What you can't download though are the codes for things like alarms and for the radio. So make sure that you've got that information, because if you haven't, if the battery's disconnected, you can't reset the alarm, you can't reset the stereo, and that could cost you hundreds of pounds. So if after those comprehensive checks you're still interested, you'll be wanting to take the car for a test drive, which is another story. But before the test drive, you can be assured that as one of the UK's leading retailers of used cars, the Cooperative Motor Group makes sure it does a 100-point check on every used car it sells, so that you can be assured the car you're interested in is exactly the car that you think it is.